was it? The question played in Zach Stewart's mind like an annoying ad jingle. And those 3 words had been present all through the past 70-odd hours. Hours that were very odd indeed, if, in fact, they even numbered 70. Formerly a typical middle-aged American male of less than average height and weight, often dressed in khakis and polo shirts, he had become a haggard-looking man in stained and soiled long johns. Designed to be worn under a NASA EVA suit, said long johns were actually a garment filled with small plastic tubes through which water circulated. The outfit was now the only tangible reminder of Zach's former life as an astronaut, or as an inhabitant of planet Earth. His life before Keanu. Lacking a mirror and able to feel the ragged stubble on his face, he suspected that he now looked like a cartoon castaway, which, come to think of it, was exactly his state. Stranded on the interplanetary equivalent of a desert island. "Steady," he told himself. "You've been running on fumes for a week. You're stranded on a runaway planetoid. Your choices are find the exit from this habitat while still breathing, or lie down and die." Even that decision wasn't simple. Death on Keanu, anywhere around Keanu, didn't seem to be permanent, or not immediately permanent. Maybe that whole life, death, what have you business was why he kept looking for the way out. Because of Megan. The last he'd seen of his wife, she had been swallowed up by a rogue sentry and carried off to certain death. An hour later, Zach had had to fight a sentry. The same one? He thought so at the time. Now he wasn't so sure. Of course now, he was 5 days more exhausted, 5 days less fed, 5 days more distracted. Because 2 days after losing Megan, after killing that sentry, 187 people had arrived on Keanu. According to them, they had been literally scooped from the surface of the Earth and carried across almost 500,000 kilometers in a pair of giant objects that resembled soap bubbles. "Great number," Harley Drake had said. 187 is the section of the California Penal Code for murder. Harley was Zach's best friend, a fellow astronaut who had been crippled in the auto accident that killed Megan Stewart. For the first time, he had to remind himself, 2 years before the Destiny mission. Only to somehow wind up on Keanu, too. It was clear from the moment the 187 arrived that, beyond what they wore or carried, they had no clothing, few tools, no shelter, not even a common language. There was food on Keanu. The habitat had obviously been designed for creatures from Earth, but which era? There were edible plants, but few that Zach recognized. And how long would those supplies last? What nasty parasites or Keanu-specific bacteria were waiting to strike humans living on the Keanu diet of fruits and vegetables? There was also a lack of organization and leadership. Plenty of candidates, but to what end? Questions like, "Can we go home?" or "Are we stuck here forever?" couldn't be answered. Zach was the human race's expert on Keanu, a title he would gladly have relinquished given the shallowness of his expertise. Not that it stopped everyone, including Harley, from bombarding him with questions. Maybe that was another reason to go walk about, for the sweet moment of silence. There was also shame and nagging responsibility. The castaway's presence here was largely due to Zach's actions as commander of Destiny 7. Zach had seen the anger in more than a few of their faces. How long before someone picked up a rock and clubbed him to death, just for the sheer catharsis? So, yes, Zach had wanted to get away from them. Even from his own daughter, one of the miraculously improbable new immigrants. Well, not so improbable. Harley Drake had been her guardian. If Harley got himself nabbed, Rachel couldn't have been far away. And Zach had since learned that the reality was the opposite. It was actually Rachel's fault that the pair had wound up in the not-so-magic 187. But much as he cherished the contact with his daughter, Zach feared the road ahead. Rachel's life, just like the lives of all humans on Keanu, might turn out to be nasty, brutish, and short.